The worst fuel shortages in decades. President Biden has the midterm election behind him, but the political headache of soaring energy costs is only growing, as a shortage of diesel fuel leaves a large swath of the nation bracing for a challenging winter. Inventories of diesel in the United States are the lowest they have been heading into winter in 70 years, unnerving a broad spectrum of consumers and businesses. The shortage leaves soybean farmers in the Midwest struggling to stay out of the red and lawmakers in New England imploring the administration to release fuel from the nation's emergency home heating oil reserves. In the Southeast, a major national supplier of diesel, Mansfield Energy, recently declared a code red warning that some terminals were running out of fuel, forcing supply trucks to divert elsewhere. Industrial customers were advised to give 3 days' notice before making new orders. According to EIA projections, operational refinery capacity decreased in 2021 for a second consecutive year to stand at 17.9 million barrels per calendar day as of January 1, 2022, which is lower than it was before COVID. When fuel demand fell at the beginning of the epidemic, several U.S. refiners permanently shut down some of their capacity, while others closed down their plants in order to convert them into biofuel refineries. Without mincing words, massive outages are coming this winter. That is why, in today's video we will show you the worst fuel shortages in decades. Before continuing, support our work with a like and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our videos. The first oil shock of 1973 was brought on by social and political forces that exposed the vulnerabilities of a global system overly reliant on fossil fuels and resource-intensive petroleum production. Everyday Americans witnessed the impacts firsthand, faced with skyrocketing gas prices and ripple effects across the economy for years to follow. Parallels can certainly be drawn from these challenges of half a century ago to the fuel crisis impacting the world in 2022. Similarly influenced by a fraught social and political landscape. Now, as the dangers of climate change loom larger than ever, it is imperative that we not repeat the same mistakes by continuing to expand emissions-heavy, fossil fuel-intensive policies and infrastructure as a short-sighted solution. We need to recognize this crisis as a wake-up call that we must pivot to alternative systems that prioritize sustainable development and de-incentivize fuel-intensive transport in the long term. Otherwise, we run the risk of perpetuating a cycle of volatility brought on by the country's over-reliance on fossil fuels, ultimately jeopardizing our environment and our health. For us to break out of this cycle, we must rethink how we design, manage, and plan infrastructure in American cities. Mansfield Energy issued the alert stating there was a developing fuel shortage in the southeastern region of the United States. The company speculated that the shortage could be generated from poor pipeline shipping economies and a historically low supply of diesel reserves. Poor pipeline shipping economics and historically low diesel inventories are combining to cause shortages in various markets throughout the Southeast. The company said, these have been occurring sporadically, with areas like Tennessee seeing particularly acute challenges. Americans who own a diesel car are shelling out more at the pump and would have to pay more this winter as the world's largest economy is facing one of the biggest challenges of recent times, a diesel crisis due to a rising supply deficit. With only a week until the United States midterm elections, prices are probably going to rise until anything changes. High fuel costs, particularly that of diesel and gasoline, are affecting the American economy and fueling voter resentment against the Biden administration as the fuel is also used to heat homes. Not only the US, but Europe too is struggling to make enough diesel. The continent's diesel market has come under stress ever since Russia invaded Ukraine and threw into jeopardy Europe's biggest source of external supply. The 27-nation EU will ban Russian gasoline from February 2023. In the US, distillate inventories, which include diesel and heating oil, are at their lowest point since at least 1993. News agency Bloomberg, quoting Wood Mackenzie Limited, a consultant, said the price of diesel is likely to keep rising relative to gasoline through year-end. However, there is also a risk to oil demand as Eurozone would probably experience a recession this winter, according to CMC Markets analyst Leon Lee, who spoke to Reuters. According to an S&P Global study, The Eurozone is probably going into a recession as its economic activity shrank at the sharpest rate in over 2 years in October. This is because rising living costs are making consumers more cautious and decreasing demand. The United States' ban on Russian imports, low refining capacity owing to seasonal labor, and strong demand are all contributing factors to the scarcity of diesel. Diesel, which powers commercial vehicles, railroads, and industries all over the world, has been severely impacted as a result of these factors. If diesel prices rise sharply, the cost of all consumer goods and delivery fees would rise. Due to the shortage, heating and transportation prices would almost certainly increase, further straining household budgets. According to reports, international shipments are en route but won't get to the United States until the end of October. According to Goldman Sachs, refinery closures and underinvestment in refining capacity are to blame for the scarcity, which is now affecting Europe as well. Supplies are arriving, but not quickly enough. The Colonial Pipeline, which supplies the majority of the Southeast markets, is currently completely scheduled to transfer jet fuel, diesel, and heating oil. However, according to the most recent pipeline schedule, the first full cycle won't arrive in Atlanta until November 3rd and won't get to the New York Harbor region until a week later. Even though numerous international shipments are scheduled to arrive in New York, they won't do so until the end of this month. Though the diesel shortage is affecting the entire country, inventories are particularly low on the East Coast, with the Northeast experiencing the highest diesel prices, according to Georgia-based major fuel supply and logistics company Mansfield Energy. The Southeast is reporting the worst supply outages. While rising inventories are certainly good news for the U.S. economy, diesel prices remain high. The national average is of $5.359 per gallon, lower than November 13th's average at $5.362 per gallon but higher than last week's average of $5.338 per gallon and October's average of $5.215 per gallon, according to the American Automobile Association. On June 19, 2022, diesel reached its highest recorded average price at $5.816 per gallon. The 12-month calendar spread for ultra-low sulfur diesel futures has flared out to a backwardation of $50 per barrel from less than $10 this time last year, as traders anticipate physical shortages. As a result, retail diesel prices including applicable taxes are now $1.45 per gallon higher than for gasoline, a record premium, up from just 24 cents per gallon a year ago. Distillate fuel oil is primarily used in freight transport, manufacturing, farming, mining, and the oil and gas industry itself, so consumption is strongly influenced by the economic cycle. Growth in distillate consumption has been closely correlated with changes in industrial production estimated by the U.S. Federal Reserve and manufacturing activity in surveys by the Institute for Supply Management. Stabilizing then rebuilding inventories to more comfortable levels will require a significant slowdown in freight movements and manufacturing activity. There are early indications manufacturing and freight activity peaked in the third quarter of 2022. If confirmed, that would take some of the pressure of distillate inventories. But a deeper and more prolonged slowdown in the United States and/or in Europe and Asia will be needed to boost inventories significantly. Rebalancing diesel supply will likely require a further rise in interest rates and tighter financial conditions in the United States and other major economies to reduce fuel consumption to more sustainable levels. In light of the fuel shortage in the United States, different organizations and bodies have recommended strategies to curb fuel shortage in the United States. The International Energy Agency recommends a 10-point plan to tackle energy crisis. Reduce speed limits on highways by at least 10 kilometers per hour. Many countries already use temporary speed limit reductions on highways, mostly to reduce congestion and/or air pollution and to improve road safety. Work from home up to 3 days a week where possible. Around 1/3 of the jobs in advanced economies can be done from home, opening up the possibility of reducing oil demand while maintaining productivity. Car-free Sundays in cities. Car-free Sundays were introduced in countries such as Switzerland, the Netherlands, and West Germany during the 1973 oil crisis. Cities in other countries have used them more recently to promote public health. reduce public transport prices, and incentivize walking and cycling. Investment in public transport and infrastructure to support walking and cycling has been boosted by sustainable economic recovery packages introduced in response to the COVID-19 crisis. Alternate private car access to roads in large cities. Restricting private cars' use of roads in large cities on alternate weekdays is a measure with a long track record of successful implementation around the world. Increase car sharing and adopt practices to reduce fuel use. Governments can provide additional incentives by designating dedicated traffic lanes and parking spots next to public transport hubs, and by reducing road tolls on higher occupancy vehicles. Such measures are in force in suburban areas of cities like Madrid and Houston, among others. Promote efficient driving for freight trucks and goods deliveries. Governments can introduce so-called eco-driving techniques as part of the tuition and examination processes required to receive a driving license and advanced driving certificates, as has been done in France and other countries. Using trains instead of planes where possible. High-speed rail can substantially replace short-haul air travel on routes that offer affordable, reliable, and convenient train journeys. Avoid business air travel where alternative options exist. Although not all business travel by plane can be avoided, in many cases the use of virtual meetings can be an effective substitute. A reduction of around 2 out of every 5 flights taken for business purposes is feasible in the short term, based on the changes witnessed during the COVID pandemic. Increase adoption of electric and other more efficient vehicles. By the end of 2021, 8.4 million electric cars were on the roads in advanced economies, building on record sales in Europe in particular. Demand for electric cars continues to be strong, on the back of plummeting costs of batteries in recent years and government support. Since the majority of oil demand comes from transport, the IEA's 10-point plan focuses on how to use less oil getting people and goods from A to B, drawing on concrete measures that have already been put to use in a diverse range of countries and cities. It believes its plan would significantly relieve price pressure on consumers, make oil demand more sustainable, and reduce Moscow's hydrocarbon revenues. In short, the solution is to slash energy demand, grow more food and less fodder, drive and fly less, turn down the thermostat. Demand-led solutions are efficient, quick, and cheap, as Cape Town showed in 2018 when the city drastically curbed water use during extreme drought in South Africa. Designed and implemented with care, and backed by policy, such measures can lower future greenhouse gas emissions and climate risks, as well as reducing reliance on Russian exports today. Without such steps, governments seeking to increase or subsidize domestic supplies of gas and oil, or to burn coal or ship and liquid natural gas, might slow the fuel price spiral in the near term. But in the long run, they, along with everyone else, will face even greater economic damage from climate change. Russia's invasion of Ukraine makes clear that propping up the old world economy will result only in more resource bottlenecks, empowered authoritarian regimes, wars, and climate-related devastation. We hope you have enjoyed our video today. So if you have enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or recommendations, please let us know in the comments section, and we will respond to them as soon as possible. Love to see you next time.